Good evening to all of you. On behalf of the Kupuswami Sastri Research Institute, we offer a warm welcome to all the participants who are here to listen to Professor Srinivasan, who will be talking to us on the philosophy of Bhedabheda. This endowment lecture is being arranged under R. Narasimchari Endowment, and Mr. R. Narasimchari was a senior advocate of Madras High Court, and his family members have instituted an endowment in our institute more than 25 years ago, primarily to organize a lecture annually on different schools of Vedanta, and we have been sincerely carrying out this program every year, and so many illustrious scholars have participated in this, have given talks on various aspects of Vedanta, namely Advaita, Visishtadvaita, Dvaita, Shivadvaita, Bhedabheda, Achintya Bhedabheda, and then Suddhadvaita. And again, the cycle was repeated. So we have been doing this for more than 25 years. Even Professor Srinivasan gave a lecture under this endowment many years ago on Nimbarka. I think it was Dvaita, philosophy of Nimbarka. And this year, he has chosen to talk about the Bhedabheda philosophy. Generally, we identify the Bhedabheda philosophy with Bhaskaracharya, but there has been quite a few schools of Bhedabheda under different names with different views, which Professor Srinivasan would give in detail to all of us. And in the field of Sanskrit literature, philosophy, religion, history, I mean, you can go on adding. It is very difficult to find a scholar of Dr. Srinivasan's caliber. He was formerly professor and head of the Department of Sanskrit and the principal of Vivekananda College, Mylapore, Chennai. And many of us, including myself, my colleague Basu, we are all his students in Vivekananda College, from Vivekananda College onwards. And we approach Professor Srinivasan for any clarification or reference even to this day. And he has never failed us. His vast knowledge, his erudition, his simplicity, and even now, his readiness to approach other scholars and to clarify his doubts wherever he requires some more inputs is something to be appreciated. And he had a very enviable association with great scholars, traditional scholars like Professor Balasubramanya Shastrikal, Kalyana Shastrikal, and the list is very big. And so we are indeed fortunate to have him as an honorary professor in our research institute. He is holding the chair under Brahmasri Anna Subramanya Iyer, and he has been helping our institute in many ways. And also he has been taking classes for some of our research scholars and many of the foreign scholars. from different countries. We welcome all of you for this program, and I request Professor Srinivasan to take over and deliver his talk on the philosophy of Bhedabheda. Over to Professor Srinivasan.
Thank you, Mr. K.S. Balasubramanian. यस्य प्रसादात् मूकोऽपि वावदूको भिजायते भाष्य भावज्ञ विख्यातः सद्गुरुं प्रणमाम्यहम् पंडितानां च राजानं शास्त्रे रत्नाकरोपमं बालपूर्वं गुरुं वन्दे सुब्रह्मण्याभिधं मुदा श्रुतिस्मृति पुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्. And I thank Dr.K.S. Balasubramanian for his nice words of introduction, and all the staff and the research students at the KSRI and the authorities of KSRI for choosing me for this endowment lecture, and also other people who have joined this meeting. I also thank the endowment makers who have created this endowment and making this what is called Vedanta lectures, that is different systems of Vedanta, to give an introduction to different systems of Vedanta, so that the students may be very much benefited. The students of philosophy may be very much benefited. And as been said by Dr. K.S. Balasubramanian, a series of lectures on different systems of Vedanta have been regularly held without let or hindrance, and various systems of Vedanta have been covered under this, and various scholars have spoken on nuances of the systems of Vedanta, thereby helping the students and research scholars. And the topic today I have chosen is the Bhedabheda. That is the discussion of Bhedabheda in the Indian systems of philosophy that I have taken. Even though, as has been said in the introduction, the moment we hear the word Bhedabheda, the name that comes to our mind is Bhaskara. He is also called Bhaskara Bhatta. Whether he is from Andhra or from Kashmir or from any other area, there are different doubts and all those things. Bhaskara belonged to late 10th century AD and early 11th century AD because he is criticized. He criticizes Shankara and he is being criticized by Bhamati in turn. So he should be between Shankara and Bhamati. Bhamati, one of the books of Pachas Misra is dated 940, and Shankara is generally dated as 788 to 820, whatever may be the date. So his date must be between 820 to 940 or somewhere like that. It can be plus or minus some years. It can be a contemporary of Pachas Misra too. Those informations are not very clearly known, but it can be his date should be definitely before Bhamati. That is Bhamatikara. That is late 10th century AD. Okay, but there are not only Bhaskara, there are many people. So before proceeding with, we would like to know what is this concept of Bhedabheda. There are predominantly it discusses the relationship between Ishvara and Jiva. Say now let us touch the 6 systems of philosophy. The tradition we call it generally somehow or other a habit has come, or we have the convention of grouping the philosophical systems into 6 orthodox systems of philosophy, 6 heterodox systems of philosophy. That is 4 Buddhist systems, Vaibhashika, Sautrantika, Yogachara, and Madhyamika, the 4 systems, and the 2 Jain systems, Digambara and Shvetambara. Of course, some people will class it as the Jain system and the Charvaka, like that. So thus we have 6 heterodox systems of philosophy and the 6 orthodox system, Nyaya, Vaiseshika, Sankhya, Yoga, Purva Mimamsa, and Uttara Mimamsa. These 6 orthodox systems are called also Samana Darsanas. They are not simply called Darsanas, they are called Samana Darsanas. Samana Darsanas refer to the systems are what is called very closely knitted to. That is, Sankhya and Yoga are very closely knitted to each other, the doubts of one system can be clarified with the tenets in the other system. So that's why they are called sister systems. Samana Darsana is generally translated as sister Darsanas. So they become very much what is called related to and akin to and very closely knitted to each other. In the same way, Vaiseshika and Nyaya. Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa also have got many things in their common, but whether they are sister systems, etc., many of the Vedanta philosophers, save Shankara, may consider these two as Ekasastriya. That is, they belong to one Sastra, but in the Advaita Vedanta, they are two different systems, totally. Okay. Now, these systems, say for example, let us take Sankhya and Yoga. In the system of Sankhya, Sankhya is called Nirishwara Sankhya and Vimamsa also is called Nirishwara Vimamsa. But the concept of Nirishwara Vimamsa does not mean they don't subscribe to God at all. This, in fact, when you take Shloka Vartika, the very first Shloka Vartika, the author by Kumar Labhatta, the very first Shloka proceeds with Vishuddha Jnana Dehaya Trivedi Divya Chakshushe Sreya Prapti Nimittaya Vedaya Cha Bhavaya Cha. That is, he offers his salutation to Shiva as well as Veda and compares Shiva and Veda as one. Both of them are what is called capable of giving Shreyas. Vishuddha Jnana Dehaya Trivedi Vidya Chakshushe. The characteristics which are available for Lord Shiva are available in Vedas also, like that. And in this way it proceeds. And Sankhya also, they accept Vedas, they accept all the karma prevalent in Veda, everything, but only the Vedic karmas are not capable of giving, they cannot give you final moksha. The final beatification can be given only Vyakta, Vyakta, Jna, Vijnana. That's why the Patanjali Yoga Darsana is called the Seshwara Sankhya, where the Ishvara has got a role. Klesa karma vipaka asehi apara mrushta purusha visesha Ishvara tasya vachaka pranavaha tajavas tadartha bhavanam. He is taken as a model and he is taken as the first teacher or something like that in this way. The basic thing being the God is not accepted as an intercessor God. That is, in the Vedantic system, God is accepted as the creator God. Yato imani bhutani jayante. On the basis of this Taittiriya Sukti, God is considered to be the creator, sustainer, and unto him all the world. When the world is finally during the Pralaya, the world gets back into God. So in this way, he is the creator God. He is not only the creator God, but he is also Karmadhyaksha and Phaladhyaksha. That is Sakshi, Cheta, Kavalo, Nirgunascha. While describing this, he is Sakshi and he supervises our karma. And he gives phala. That is, whatever karma the individual has done, the karma phala is extended to the individuals by God's power, because the karma is insentient. Karma being insentient, the karma phala cannot come to the individual souls on their own. Say the karma phala is not standing in the queue. We may be doing karma in a particular order, but the karma phala does not come in that particular order. Particular karma is more powerful. The karma phala should what is called attune to the what is called that particular individual immediately before all the other karmas. And these karmas cannot decide which of us is powerful. A karma cannot decide which of the karma is powerful and which should give phala and when it should give phala, where it should give its result. All those things karma cannot decide. So there should be an omniscient person, omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient, Sarvajna, Sarvasakta, Sarva Vyapaka, to decide which karma phala should go to which jiva at what time, where, and all those things. So Ishvara becomes Phaladhyaksha. He dispenser of justice and dispenser of the fruit of the karmas. So he becomes Phalamata Upapadehe. This point is discussed in Brahma Sutra also. And now, because of this particular thing, the Vedanta philosophy becomes different from the other four systems, namely Nyaya, Vaiseshika, Sankhya, Yoga, and Mimamsa. These 5 systems, essentially, they are philosophical in nature. They just deal more with the epistemology, ontology, and all these things. God has got a role. Definitely, God has got a role. God is there, but God is there as one of the categories of worldly things. Sometimes as what is called creating. Creating means directing the creation or deciding the time of the deciding in the sense when the time for the creation comes, giving his sankalpa for the creation, etc. In that sense, just by sankalpa. In that sense, the creation takes place in these systems. But they don't give more importance to Paladhyaksha and Karmadhyaksha aspect. But this Paladhyaksha and Karmadhyaksha aspect is emphasized by the Vedanta philosophy. In this respect, Vedanta philosophy differs from other 5 systems. And when they differ from 5 systems, they also have got this particular problem. That is the 5 systems, the first 5 systems and the Vedanta system. What constitutes moksha? That is what constitutes the cessation of pain and pleasure of this samsara, and how to arrive it or how to get it. That becomes the other systems. Essentially, all the Vedantic systems, they speak of jnana, jnana and moksha. Say this has been even Shankara has quoted. That is Vyakta, Vyaktagnya, Vijnana, that is Vijnana, what is called moksha in Sankhya Karika, the second Karika. And Tatacha Acharya Pranitam Nyayopa Brahmitam Sutram. This is the sutra quoted by Shankara. Dukkha Janma Pravritti Dosha Mithya Jnanana Uttara Uttarapaye Tadanantarapaya Apavargaha. That is when dukkha, that is first of all we have to recognize this is the Nyaya Sutra, that is Gautama Sutra. We have to recognize there is pain in society, pain in samsara, dukkha. Why this pain comes? Janma, and janma comes from pravritti, that is our action, and pravritti comes from dosha. Dosha is ragadvesha, our attachment, and ragadvesha comes from mithya jnana, that is our wrong knowledge about the things. We think certain things are good, certain things are bad. We want certain things, we don't want certain things. So all our activities, and we must have a clear-cut knowledge. These things have got no value in themselves. Per se, they are atomic. Finally, when everything is what is called dissipated, when everything is dissected, it remains atoms. Nobody can handle atom. Nobody can be interested in atom. No atom can be useful. So when you finally say the karana, that is everything is atomic, how can we get interested in them or how can they influence us? So in this way, we have to get the real knowledge. In fact, the story of Gadadhara, they finally asked the Gadadhara when he was in the last moment, what do you see? At least even in the deathbed, you see God. Whether you think of God, they asked. But it is said, the Apocrypha goes, Gadadhara said, Anavaha, Anavaha, Anavaha. That is, I said, everything I see, Anu, Anu, Anu. So much of what is called influence, everything is atomic in nature. There is nothing but Anu, everything is made up of atom. That information has gone into his mind. And even in his last minute, he was thinking of them alone. That is, because nothing but cause and the cause cannot influence me. I am detached from them. That is this attitude. This sort of attitude that helps the jiva, the prakriti aspect in the jiva, gets separated from the chaitanya aspect. So when the prakriti and the chaitana, both of them they get separated, that is the jnana that becomes moksha. So moksha is remaining separate. That's why in Sankhya system, jiva is defined only as Satchit. But in the Vedantic systems, it is entirely different. That is, the jiva is defined as Satchidananda, Satichit Ananda Swarupa. The Nyaya Vaiseshika system, jiva is without any characteristic. Sat is only a characteristic byproduct. And in the Sankhya system and Yoga system, it is Satchit. But in the Vedantic system, it is Satchidananda. So the Satchidananda aspect has to be realized. And the Satchidananda aspect can be because Lord is the dispenser of justice. Through the grace of the Lord alone, we can get that particular knowledge. And by His grace, the Satchidanandatva can be realized and obtained. Hence, the relationship between the Lord, Ishvara, and the Jiva has to be decided. And the relationship is discussed in 3 different ways. That is, whether Jiva is identical with Ishvara, or Jiva is totally different from Ishvara, or whether Jiva is partly identical and partly different from Ishvara. This sort of difference has to be discussed. there are certain problems. If Jiva were to be, that is, these two people, that is, those who speak of Jiva and Ishvara are identical, that is, Abheda relationship. They speak of, if the Jiva were to be totally different, this may also entail Ishvara being impermanent. That problem will be there, they think, because that will result in Vastu Paricheda. So Ishvara may become impermanent, and the other logical problems are there. We can see it in course of time. So they don't subscribe to Veda. But those who subscribe to the theory of Veda, that is, Jiva and Ishvara are totally different. They subscribe to the viewpoint that if these two are in a way identical or partly identical and partly different, etc., then that will disturb Ishvara's preeminence and his supremacy. Jiva will become what is called, characterized by tainted Jivas that is present. So they don't want the supremacy of Ishvara to be disturbed in any way. Say they hold Ishvara to be totally different. And there are other people. This is the problem here. If you identify Ishvara as all pervasive and he permeates all Jivas, or as Advaitins hold, Jivas to be manifestation of Ishvara. I use the word Ishvara here because Ishvara is the word used by all the philosophers, but in the parlance of Advaita, it should be taken as Nirguna Brahman. The word Ishvara should be taken as Nirguna Brahman, not as Ishvara. So if the Nirguna Brahman were to permeate all the Jivas and the Jivas were to be manifestation of Ishvara, that is the Nirguna Brahman, the other people point out one mistake, which Bhaskara also refers to in his Brahma Sutra Bhashya and Bhagavad Gita Bhashya also. He refers this. The problem will be Pratikarma Vyavastha. Pratikarma means the actions of each and every individual. Because the Brahman were to be the real author. All the Jivas will be manifestation. If they happen to be manifestation, they cannot be kartas, that is actors. They cannot be actors. The actor should be the indwelling soul, the indwelling consciousness. The indwelling consciousness must act upon this particular jivas. So if the indwelling consciousness were to be one, when that consciousness were to be born, that is when the individual jiva is born, all the jivas must be accepted to be born because he is one single soul, and when he is born, everyone is born. When that particular person is released, everybody should be released. That is, if Shuka is released, then everybody should be released. There should not be any samsara at all afterwards after Shuka. Shuka is one name. There can be so many people before Shuka who might have been released. So samsara cannot continue at all. If one person is happy, all must be happy, and one person is weeping, all must be weeping. How can you explain the individual pain and pleasure, the individual birth and death? How can you explain? The individuality will not be there because one supreme soul permeates everybody, and thereby the individuality will be lost because everything pertains to that particular supreme soul. So the individuality will be lost. Pratikarma Vyavastha. It is called Pratikarma Vyavastha. And another word used for this is Karma Sankarya. That is, there will be Sankara. Sankara means overcome this particular point of the Pratikarma Vyavastha, the Shankarite Vedantins, they have introduced the theory of Maya Avidya. That is the Maya, the Bhavarupa Vidya. That is called the indeterminate power. Maya is called Shakti, the power. Power cannot be defined as an individual object. It cannot be objectified. And it cannot be defined what it is exactly. Sadasat Vilakshanam. This can neither be defined as an existent object or non-existent object. Such a thing, such a Maya, because of its power, what happens? It makes the whole world to be seen and everything to be appeared. And the Maya, of course, there are different philosophies. I'm just going in, different theories and viewpoints. whether Maya is one, whether Maya is many, whether Avidya is cause of effect of Maya, or Maya is effect of Avidya, how to accept Avidya, Maya, etc. I'm not going into them. And this Maya, when it becomes individuated, that is responsible for the individual souls. So through this Maya Avidya, the individuation is explained. So there won't be any problem of Karma Vyavastha too. Every individual karma can be explained, and the moksha of individuals. That is, every individual getting moksha also can be explained. That's working out his way for moksha. But this Maya, other people, especially Ramanuja, has discussed this very thoroughly in his Mahapurva Paksha and Mahasiddhanta in the Sribhashya First Adhikarana, Jijnasa Adhikarana. He has introduced the discussion of Saptavidha Anupapatti, 7 untenables in the theory of Maya. That is, 7 fallacies that has to be faced, and he thinks these 7 fallacies cannot be answered. Since these are unanswerable fallacies, that is mistakes, Sanskrit philosophy is infested with these mistakes like that. So many are accepting Sankarites, other people do not subscribe to the theory of Maya, and so Advaita view is there by Sankarite philosophy, and Dvaita view also is there differently. And in between, they say Jivas and Ishvara are part and whole. Jiva becomes part of whole. And they quote Mamevamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatanaha. This quotation, this statement by Krishna in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, this quotation they quote Mamevamshaha. That is, Krishna himself has declared that Jiva is my Amsha. He is part of me. He has declared. And on the basis of this, this has been declared by everybody. And there are, so on this basis, Amsha means Amshamshi relationship. Amshas are parts, and the whole must be Amshi, that is consisting of Amshas. All the Jivas become part of Ishvara. So these people don't subscribe to Nirguna Brahman, and they subscribe to Saguna Brahman is Saguna Brahman only, Kalyana Brahman only, that is with Ananta Kalyana Gunas, and that is the concept of Brahman of these people. And so what happens? Ananta Kalyana Guna Purvaka Saguna Brahman, and he is Amshi, holding all the Amsas together, he is the whole. And Jivas are Amsas. And there are many, as has been what is called referred to, there are many Bhedabheda variants. This Bhedabheda is sometimes later it develops to Dvaita theory also. So it is also called Bhedabheda, not exactly. Bhedabheda is something different, and Dvaita theory. Bhedabheda is generally philosophical in nature. Dvaita that deals with the theological aspects more. And this Dvaita theory, we can see it in Nimbarka's philosophy, and Achintya Bheda, that is Baladeva Vidyabhushana, Chaitanya, and all these people. Bheda seems to be very earlier work. So even though many of their philosophies are common, but this Chaitanya philosophy and Nimbarka, Sripati Pandita, that is Srikara's Brahmasutra Bhashya, all these works, they are still in vogue. They are being followed. They are very much being observed and followed by many people. So they are current. Just like Vishishtadvaita, Advaita, and Dvaita systems of philosophy, these systems are also in current. And the same way, Shivadvaita also is termed in a way Shiva Vishishtadvaita by Srikanta. That also is more or like Vishishtadvaita philosophy of Ramanuja. That also becomes in a way Veda because they all accept the Amsham Shibhava, but that Amsham Shibhava of Shivadvaita will be totally different from the Amsham Shibhava, or what is called the Sharira Shariri Bhava, that is advocated by Ramanuja. So now, the earlier Vedas, now let us restrict ourselves to the earlier Vedas. And Brahma Sutra itself refers to 3 people. Essentially, this Veda concept has developed in the particular Adhikarana called Vakyanvaya Adhikarana. This Vakyanvaya Adhikarana is discussed. The Adhikarana is called Vakyanvaya. This Adhikarana, that is the famous statement, Atma va are drashtavyaha, shrotavyaha, mantavyaha, nididhyasitavyaha. This is the famous statement. This is an injunction which speaks that Atma is fit to be seen. Drashtavyaha. In the sense Drashtavyaha, the Tavya Pratyaya is Adhartha. That is, it is fit to be seen. If at all, if there is a thing fit to be seen, that is Atma. Atma Vare Drashtavyaha. What should we do to see Atman? Shrotavyaha, Mantavyaha, Nididhyasitavyaha. Shrotavyaha is we have to study Vedic text, understand Vedic text. That is Tatparya Purvaka Adhyanam. That is, we have to study along with its intention. Mantavyaha, that has to be ratiocinated upon. We have to think over it. Nididhyasitavyaha, we have to meditate upon it. That is, we have to imbibe, we have to observe, we have to make it our own. That is what is presented as Atma. We have to realize it. That is the question. What is realization, etc. different matter. Now, in this particular concept, Atma Vare Drashtavya Shrotavya Mantavyaha Nididhyasitavyaha, the word Atma. What exactly is the meaning of Atma here? What is referred to by the word Atma? Should we take, because Atma is generally used in the sense of individual self. So, whether Atma should we take Atma as the individual self, or should we take Atma as the supreme or cosmic self? That is the question I'll shortly take up. This is the essential doctrine. And here, this is being discussed. The fourth pada of the first adhyaya of Brahma Sutra. Fourth pada. And sutra numbers differ. Shankara, there are 4 sutras. Vakyanvaya, Pratignya Siddher Lingam Asparatyaha, Evam Bhavaditya Udulomihi, and Avasthitirti Kasa Krishnaha. There are 4 sutras. And these 4 sutras form 1, 4, 19, 20, 21, 22. For Bhaskara, etc., this 19 will become 18th sutra. That is, he clubs 2 sutras before, and then it becomes 1, 4, 18. 1, 4, 18, 19, 20, 21. So the 4 sutras are there, 4 sutras form Adhikarana, but sutra numbering are somewhat different in the different systems of philosophy. So that is the only thing, but the sutras are same. Now we have to understand what is the context to understand this. Here, Badarayana Vyasa, who is traditionally considered to be the author of Brahma Sutras, he takes up this particular question. What is the meaning of Atma in the context Atma Vare Drashtavyaha? And he says, Vakyanvaya, because of what is called, if you look at the context, this must be Paramatma only. And Ashmaratya, Audulomi, and Kasa Krishna, all the 3 authors, that is, they are pre-Badarayana authors. They are quoted by Badarayana. Hence, they must be pre-Badarayana authors. These 3 pre-Badarayana authors also are of the opinion that it is only Paramatma only. It is not Jivatma. And why they consider Paramatma? On different grounds. On different grounds, they consider it as Paramatma. But whatever it may be, they consider it as Paramatma only. And their grounds happen to be Bhedabheda. Ashmaratya and Audulomi's grounds happen to be Bhedabheda relationship. Let us see. And now we must have some idea about the background story of this particular Atma Vare Drashtavyaha. Suddenly, important. That is, sannyasa is essential characteristic for moksha, essential qualification for moksha. For Bhaskara, he is a Tridanti sannyasin. Sannyasa, he does not insist that much. Sarvakarma sannyasa is not a very essential qualification, prerequisite. So there is one characteristic. But this context, this is called Maitreyi Brahmana. This particular, in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, this is from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, subsections, there are sections, major sections. The major sections are called kandas. Pratama kanda, Dvitiya kanda, Tritiya kanda, etc. And within the kandas, there are subsections, different topics. Each topic is dealt with in one section. And the sections are called Brahmanas. So in the second kanda and the fourth kanda, there are two Brahmanas deal with the Maitreyi Brahmana. That's the same story. Some minor variations, it is repeated. So there is a repetition of this Maitreyi Brahmana. Maitreyi Brahmana is a discussion between Maitreyi, the wife of Yajnavalkya, and his husband or her husband Yajnavalkya. Suddenly Yajnavalkya approached his two wives, Maitreyi and Katyayini, and he told, Vidyasyanva aham are asmat sthanas asmi. I am intent on renouncing this grihasthasrama and going away, going to forest. That is, I want to take to sannyasa. And I want to what is called to divide my wealth to both of you. He said, say Antam Karavani, I will divide my wealth to both of you and giving away, parting with my wealth to you, I am going away. So he makes his wives he wants to what is called make his wives the owner and inheritor of his wealth. And before he is going away, he want to create what is called create a deed and then register it, make a settlement, so that there shall not be any problem later. But Maitreyi said, so much of wealth you have, you are enjoying, but leaving it, where are you going? What you are, what is called intending for? Leaving all this wealth, what you are intending for? That is, if you are intending, that is immortality. That is the question. And what can I do with this wealth? Can I get that immortality? Tenaham Amrita Syam. Will I be that immortal? Yajnavalkya said, Amritasya tu nasasti vittena. That is, immortality cannot be aspired for or cannot be thought of by this wealth. Neti hovacha Yajnavalkya. Upakaranavadam. The life with all this wealth can be just like the wealth of a rich people, nothing else. Then she said, Kimaham tena kuru. What can I do? You just tell me what you want to know. Then he started. Nava are patif kamaya patif priyo bhavati. That is, first we have to. Shankara says, initially, when you start studying Vedanta, etc., we must develop Vairagya. That is, we have to develop the idea of renouncing. That is, everything should be given up. Our attachment to the worldly things, etc., should be given. So, Nava are patif kamaya patif priyo bhavati. Atmanastu kamaya patif priyo bhavati. That is, we are not what is called, if we like our child, if we are loving our child, it is not the sake, it is not for the sake of child we are loving it, it is for our own sake we love it. If we love something, it is not for its sake it is loved, it is for one's own sake it is loved. So all love is selfish and personal. No love can be, external appearance can be as if it is unselfish, as if it is helping others, etc. But but if you go deep into it, if you analyze it, finally we are moved by our personal love and personal selfishness and personal want and personal desire, but it is not for the sake of others. So in this way, we have to understand. Nava are bhutanam kamaya bhutani priyani bhavanti atmanas. In the same way, everything, nothing, because external things, insentient things, we are able to understand it better, but sentient things, sometimes it becomes difficult. So atmavare drashtavya srotavya nididhyasitavya. Atmano darsanena sravanena matya idam sarvam viditam. By the knowledge of Atman, all these things can be known, he said. And anyone who knows something other than this, Brahmatam Paradar, you Anyatra Atmano Brahmaveda, he is precluded. Anyone who knows something else as cause of Brahman, that is cause of Atman, he is precluded. And then Anantam Aparam, etc., it goes further, and he says, from this one, because by knowing this, everything else will be known. That is the ultimate cause, and from this everything appears. Sarvebhyo bhutebhyo samuthaya tanyeva anuvinasyati. And finally they merge into it. Na pretya samya astiti. And when he transcends into this, there is no consciousness. Then Maitreya asks, Atraiva ma bhavan amo muhat. You are confusing me. Because when you say there is no consciousness, how is it? If the consciousness is not there, how can the individual be there? How can he continue? Then he says, I am not confusing you. This is how the knowledge is. That is, there is no special consciousness. There is a general consciousness to which one knows everything. There are no objects, hence one cannot be known everything. Yatra dvaitamiva bhavati taditara idaram pasyati. where there is duality, where there appears to be duality, there one can see something. Where there is no duality at all, who can see what? Vijñātāramare kena vijaniyat. How can a knower be known? Here, all these things. So Vidyasin, it starts with Vijñātāramare kena vijaniyat. How can this Vijñāta be known? That is how. But here Vijñāta is Vijnana, knowledge. It's not rich because there is no knower, there is no knowing object, etc. What remains is knowledge alone. So now, what is Atma? Here, Atma cannot be by knowing Atman. Eka Vijnanena Sarva Vijnana. That is, Vijnana is instrumental, and the instrumental is not really as an instrumental, but this instrumental case is used Abhede Tritiya. By the knowledge of one, everything else. That is, everything constitutes that one constitutes everything. So it is Abhede Tritiya, and the Vijñātaram also, even though there is Trich, it is with the sense of Jnana only, because there is no purpose for the Trich there. So in this way, that is the Jnana as the knower here. It's everything. That is the concept. So in this concept, the question is, if it were to be one single cosmic soul, supreme soul, why should it, how can it be individual? That is, how can it be the word Atma? Why should the word Atma be used? How can it be taken as the cosmic soul? Because Atma vare drashtaviya, and the individual Yajnavalkya is proceeding towards forest, announcing the world, and he wants to attain moksha. If that were to be case, he has to know himself and the individual soul. So it starts with the individual soul. So the Atma must be individual soul alone, and it cannot be the cosmic soul or supreme soul. And if it were to be supreme soul, why should there be reference to individual soul or Atma? Brahmani vidite sarvam Atma vare instead of Atma vare drashtavyah, Brahma vare drashtavyam srotavyam. The Veda could have stated like that. Why should Veda start with Atma vare drashtavyah? Here comes. Then Padarayana said Vakyanvayat. Vakyanvayat is, that is Upakramo Samhara. If you look at the thing, Amritasya tu nasasti tena. So the Amritatva, immortality cannot be by what is called merely knowing the individual. The immortality must come from cosmic soul, and it ends with Yatra Hidvaitami and all those things. So Upakrama and Upasamhara, if you look at the what is called the commencement, that is that where he says Yenedam Sarvam Vijanati. It started with Eka Vijnanena Sarvam Vijanati, Yenedam Sarvam Vijanati Tankena, by whom you know everything. So the beginning and end, Upakrama Upasamhara, they agree with each other. So this must be, that is Eka Vijnanena Sarva Vijnana must be pertaining to that particular thing, which is the cause of everything. And now, Jiva is not a product. Jiva is not a product, and hence Jiva cannot be the Brahman cannot be the cause of Jiva. So Eka Vijnanena Sarva Vijnana, even if you take the whole world to be the product of Brahman, since Jiva cannot be the product of Brahman, Jiva cannot be part and parcel of this Sarva Vijnana or Eka Vijnana. He must be protruded from it. That becomes the problem. So now how to overcome this problem? In order to overcome this problem, Jiva also must be shown to be part of, even though Jiva is not a product of Brahman, he must be part of or manifestation of Brahman. Somehow or other, Jiva and Brahman must be connected. Hello?
Yes, sir. Now we are able to.
Continue. அது கேட்கறது இல்லையா?
இப்ப கேக்குது சார்.
நடுவுல கட் ஆயிடுச்சா?
நடுவுல ஒரு பிரேக் இருக்கு.
So Jiva cannot be product of Brahman. But if somehow or other Jiva and Brahman are not connected together, this Eka Vijnanena Sarva Vijnana, by knowing which everything else can be known, cannot be explained properly, cannot be justified. So Jiva and Brahman must be connected in a way. Somehow or other Jiva and Brahman must be related together. What sort of relationship can be established? And here the relationship established, that is how all the philosophers are discussed this particular point. So the relationship established is, that is, this must be accepted. That is the first sutra. There is continuity between the first and the last. That is the whole context. The whole prakarana has got an idea that is established. But how we are going to introduce jiva into the scheme? And there comes this particular idea. Three sutras are introduced. Pratignya siddhehe, that is, the identity of jiva and Brahman is introduced. That is, Atmava are drashtavyaha. Atma is identified with, Atma means the individual soul is identified with the Supreme Soul. That is, the individual soul is seen as the Supreme Soul, or Supreme Soul is seen as the individual soul, or both of them are seen as one and the same. There is an Abheda relationship. Pratignya siddhehe. In order to establish the promise, namely Eka Vijnana and Sarva Vijnana, Pratignya siddhehe, in order to introduce that Pratignya, in order to justify the Pratignya, that Pratignya siddhi, that the justification of the promise, justification of the statement is the cause for identity. So the Asmaratya is one teacher who lived before Badarayana, and this teacher established the real theory of called Abheda between Jiva and Ishvara. And but he subscribed to the theory of Veda. So there is Veda and Abheda always. There is Abheda is for the sake of what is called Eka Vijnana and Sarva Vijnana, but Veda is there. So a sort of Veda relationship is there between Ishvara and Jiva. This is what Asmaratya has said, but it is not elaborately discussed. There was one teacher who discussed this theory, and perhaps Vyasa quoted that particular author's view, and then he proceeded further. And then there is another teacher called Audulomi, and Audulomi Yavam Bhavat. That is, Audulomi considered what is the relationship between Jiva and Supreme Soul as Veda in the samsara state. In the samsara state, Jiva is differentiated from Atman because of his upadhi, namely his individuating antakarana. The antakarana is kalushita. It has got raga, dvesha, and different vasanas. Because of these vasanas, the jiva becomes what is called samsarin, and slowly by puja, I mean what is called aradhana, etc., by cleaning his mind, when he becomes ready to take up moksha, and then once when he gets moksha, in the state of moksha, it is he becomes that is one with Ishvara. So in the samsari state, the jiva is different from Ishvara, and in the moksha state, he is one with Ishvara. So there is Bhedabheda relationship. So in the Audulomi opinion, Bhedabheda relationship is based on avastha, but in the Asmaratya opinion, in the Asmaratya view, Bhedabheda is based on essential characteristic. And some of the teachers subscribe that Bhaskara's view is following Asmaratya. In fact, Sudarsanacharya, who commented on Sri Bhashya in his Srudha Prakasika, he says Bhaskara follows Asmaratya view. And Kasakritsana view is taken to be Siddhanta by all the people. Bhaskara, while discussing this particular Adhikarana, did not offer any comment or anything like that on the views of Audulomi, Asmaratya, and Kasakrishna, which of them is right or who says what, whether to take. He quoted these three views, and then these three people explained this particular Adhikarana, that is this Atmavare Drashtavyaha in this way. He proceeded further. But in Shankara's view, Kasakrishna is taken to be Abhedavadi. Kasakrishna Avasthiti means Paramatman is available as manifestation in Jivas. Since Paramatman is available as manifestation in Jivas, this Abheda view, that is Atmavare Drashtavyaha, is justified. This is how Kasakrishna thinks, and Shankara interprets Kasakrishna in this way. The works of these three authors, Asmaratya, Kasakrishna, and Audulomi, are not available, but we get only from the quotations. But as far as Asmaratya and Audulomi, all the teachers agree. But regarding the Kasakrishna view, Shankara interprets him as an Abhedavadin, while other people, they interpret him as Bhedabhedavadin only. Bhaskara and Ramanuja and other people, they interpret him as Bhedabhedavadin only. That is Amsham Shibhava or something like that. In that way, Kasakrishna is, Avasthiti is, Ishvara is available in the Jiva. But that does not make Jiva a manifestation. There is nothing to suggest Jiva as manifestation. They say like that. So regarding the opinion of Kasakrishna, there is a difference among these scholars. This is how the pre-Badarayana authors are, what is called, they discuss with this Bhedabheda view. And pre-Shankarite Bhedabheda people are also there. There is one person called Bhartru Prapancha. He wrote very elaborate commentary on Pragadaranyaka, and Professor Hirnina says this is voluminous. He has written 2 articles on Bhartru Prapancha. Bhartru Prapancha's views are quoted Shankara's Brahmasura Pragadaranyaka Bhashya, and they are also quoted in the Sureswara's Pragadaranyaka Vartika, and they are identified by Ananda Jnana, that is Anandagiri, and they are discussed. For example, in the Swayam Jyoti Brahmana, that is Atrayavayam Purusha Swayam Jyoti, that is 4.3, that section of 4th Kanda. In that section of the 4th Kanda, this is being discussed. That is Janaka Yajnavalkya Sambhada is there. How do a person, when there is no light, when there is no sun, when there is no moon, when there is no what is called the stars or fire, or even what is called the sense organs, how person knows. So Atrayavayam Purusha Swayam Jyoti. There it goes further. There Yadvaitanna Vijnanati, Yatadvaitanna Vijnanati, that is how a person gets knowledge. So that is somewhere near from 22, 23, 4, 3, 22, it starts, goes up to 4, 3, 30. That is, a person knows through his eyes when he sees something. The seeing is not through his seeing, the seeing is through his soul, like that. That is in the Savare Atmanuchiti Dharma, something like that. Atman is, it is there as the seer. There, Bhartru Prapancha says, the sight is there, and when you see through your eyes, you get the knowledge through the inner consciousness, and that inner consciousness happen to be same and common. So whether it is the knowledge of sight, whether it is knowledge of hearing, whether it is knowledge of smelling, for all the sense organs, for all the knowledge, it works the same way. And now what happens, since it works in that same way, that consciousness must be common, that must be one. But these knowledges, that is the knowledge of sight, knowledge of smells, knowledge of taste, etc., must be different. So they constitute different knowledges, but the knowing knowledge happens to be one. So knowledge is one, its manifestations are many. Through those different manifestations, the knowledge is there. So there is difference in knowledge and there is difference in one. It is called Samanya Visesha Bhava and Karya Karana Bhava. That is, this Bhedabheda relationship is there in Samanya Visesha Bhava and Karya Karana Bhava, and there are different bhavas. There are different Amshamshi Bhava and Jati Vyakti. In all these things, there are Bhedabheda relationship is there, especially in this particular thing. The Samanya Visesha Bhava, the Bhedabheda relationship is there, but he extends. That is the consciousness and its different manifestation. He extends it as he also, like Shankara, he also accepts Parabrahman and Aparabrahman. So this Parabrahman and Aparabrahman are there. Through Parabrahman and Aparabrahman, this Parabrahman is one, that consciousness, and Aparabrahman is in fact 8 manifestations. Antaryami, Sakshi, and Virat, Sutratma, and individual souls, Samanya, Jati, Jivas, etc. In this way, different types of manifestations he speaks of Brahman, and the relationship is between, like ocean and the waves and bubbles, etc. The relationship is between Bhedabheda, but through all the without ocean, bubbles, waves, etc. cannot be there. But we don't call it ocean; we call it waves. As ocean and wave, there will be unity and there will be difference also. So, like that, between Parabrahman and Aparabrahman, there is unity and diversity. The relationship is between Veda and Aveda. This is how Bhartru Prapancha has presented this view. And of course, Shankara criticizes this. This view is criticized. This sort of Veda relationship will not be there, because according to Shankara, this sort of differences will make Vastu Paricheda will be there essentially. So when the Vastu Paricheda will be there, Brahman ceases to be Nitya, and Shankara is uncompromising in this particular aspect. So in the post-Shankara view, there are Bhaskara. Bhaskara's views is very predominant. Bhaskara, because his books are available, Bhartar Parmanja's book is not available. In the Bhaskara view, two books of Bhaskara are available. One is Brahma Sutra Bhashya. Brahma Sutra Bhashya is available in full. It has come out within 2 editions, and of course some translation and studies etc. are also there. And then another book is Bhagavad Gita Bhashya. Bhagavad Gita Bhashya is available up to chapter 9. The latter 9 chapters are not available, and the 9th chapter also is only available up to verse verse 33. Kimpunar Brahmana Pusha Punyaha Bhakta Rajarshiyastata. Up to this, that is verse up to verse 33, 9th chapter. This Bhagavad Gita Bhashya is available. But he has written later chapters, and later chapters are quoted in some other commentaries. Since the quotations from this book is available in some commentaries, it must be clear. And in the Vakyanvayadhikarana, he criticizes 3 different views. That is, Bhaskara criticizes 3 people. He criticizes Nyaya theory of moksha and Vidyatvayadi, that is Shankara's view, and Avastite Dikasaka Sutra, he criticizes Shankara's view of Mithyavada. And the Pravancha Pravilapana doctrine, there is one doctrine called, that is when the Nitya Karma, Nitya Naimitika Kamya and Pratisheda, this is discussed in Mimamsa also. That is, Shankara also discusses this. When you do your karma properly, don't do Kamya Karma, and Nitya and Naimitika Karma, they don't have any phala. So Nitya and Naimitika Karmas are to be regularly performed to avoid all our papas. And then Prayashchitta Karma to be done for removing all the what is called papas that might have inadvertently or advertently done. And then the Kamya and Pratishiddha Karmas. Kamya means the volitional karma which we are doing on our own option, and the Pratishiddha Karma are prohibited. These are not to be done at all. Then what happens? Automatically Pravancha gets Pravilaya. That is, there won't be any further karmas for our rebirth. Hence, automatically the Pravancha Pravilaya will be there. That is the sort of moksha. This sort of Pravancha Pravilaya doctrine, etc., is discussed. And of course, that is discussed in the concept of Mimamsa doctrine, the concept Niyoga doctrine. But it has to be clearly identified who has composed this doctrine, how it develops, etc. But that doctrine also criticizes Bhaskara. And while discussing the theory of Shankara, criticizing theory of Shankara, Bhaskara says, the Mayavada has been criticized by me extensively in different places in the Chandogya Bhashya. So he has commented on the Chandogya Upanishad also. There he has criticized it extensively, the Mayavada theory of Shankara. So this is how Bhaskara has presented this Bhedabheda. He has proposed his Bhedabheda doctrine in the Brahma Sutra Bhashya in Vakyanvayadhikarana, but of course it starts with the Jignasadhikarana itself. And then his doctrine is considered to be Saguna Brahman. Some of the ideas of Bhaskara, his theory is Saguna Brahman with Ananta Kalyana Guna. He identifies Saguna Brahman more with Vishnu, not with any other god. And this can be seen in one place. That is in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 5th chapter, in the 19th verse. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabhaha. There he said, Vasudeva is Antaryamin of all the jivas. Vasanti Tasmin Sarva Bhutani. That is, all the beings live in him and he lives in all the Buddhas. Antaryamitvena Sarva Bhuteshu. Vasanti Tasmin Sarva Bhutani. All the Buddhas live in him. And Antaryamitvena Sarva Bhuteshu. He lives as Antaryami in all the Buddhas. That is, hence he is Vasuhu. Devanath. What is the meaning of Deva? Divu Dyotane. Dyotanath. Because he is what is called Prakashamana. He is shining. So being Vasu, being an Antaryami, being the what is called substratum of all the Bhutas, and being a Prakashamana, shining one, he is called Vasudeva. And this he substantiated on the basis of 3 Upanishadic quotations. Sadeva Somi Idamagrasi, Idam Sarvam Yadayamatma, like that. Hence, Vasudeva is identified. And then the next verse, that is the 20th verse of 5th chapter, Kamaistaistai Kritagnyanaha Prapadyante Anya Devataha. Those who resort to other devatas attracted for the fulfillment of their different desires. So this is what is stated in Gita. There he, while commenting on this, Kamaihi Taihi, Taistai Kamaihi, by their own respective desires. What are the desires? Putra Pashwadibihi, Kritasaha. That is that they being what is called attracted by these desires, or what is called down with those desires. What do? Rudra, Aditya, Durga, Ganapati, Prabhutayo, Anya Devataha. Who are all the other devatas? So he quotes them, gives the name. These are all the other devatas. Ye bhajante, those who resort to them, tam upavasadi niyamam asritya. So they, what is called resort to upavasas, and then other aradhanas, etc. So those who worship other gods like Rudra, Aditya, Durga, Ganapati, etc. and what he calls Devatantara Bhaktanam. So these are called devotees of Devatantaras, other Devatas. So the word Devatantara, other than Vasudeva, those who worship Devatantaras other than Vasudeva, Tadvasita Chetasam, whose mind is completely what is called overpowered, totally covered by the devotion to these gods. Tato Nivrittir Nasti. They cannot, what is called, there is no cessation of samsara. This sort of samsara cessation will not happen. So he says, Bhaskara says, we can easily identify Bhaskara is a devotee and he proposes Lord Vishnu as the supreme god, or he identifies the supreme Brahman Ishvara with Lord Vishnu, and worship of Vishnu is equally important for moksha. And then the Bhagavad Gita Bhashya, while starting Bhagavad Gita Bhashya, he discusses elaborately the Anubandha Chatushtaya. That is quoting profusely Smriti Vakyas. Mahabharata, he raises to the level of Veda, and Vyasa also, he raises him to the level of Vedic Rishi, and then he quotes profusely. That is Vishaya Prayojana Sambandha. All these things have been discussed here, and Adhikari, he says, Tadevam, after elaborately discussing, before proceeding into Dharmakshetre, Kurukshetre, Tadevam, Ukta Sambandha Avideya Prayojanam, Pratipadita Adhikari Vishesham Etat Shastram. I have discussed the Anubandha Chatushtaya, elaborately discussing Adhikari also. Yakyatum Srotum Yogyam. This Bhagavad Gita is fit to be taken up for being commented upon and for our studies also. So, Atho Asya Yakyanam Arabhyate. So, even in Shankara, we can see what is the purpose of taking up the commentary of Bhagavad Gita. But in the later commentaries, we don't see this much. Bhagavad Gita is taken as a very valid, important work. But in the earlier works, we find the need for taking up the study of Bhagavad Gita. In fact, the first chapter also, he has written commentary for all the verses. And now, we can see how I will take a few verses from Bhagavad Gita. I have quoted 2 verses from 5th chapter. A few verses from the 2nd chapter I will take. How he criticized Shankara, and not only Shankara. There were many other commentators either before Shankara, and Shankara also says, that is, he is criticizing some of the views of earlier commentators. And now I take up this particular verse. Nasato vidyate bhavaha, na bhavo vidyate sataha. And how does he says, Nasato vidyate bhavaha, na bhavo vidyate sataha, ubayorapi drishtontas tvanayos tattvadarshvi. Sorry, before that we have to say, Sanjaya, that is Yavamukta Rishikesam, like that. Arjuna told this, and Vishidantam idam vachaha. That is, he he sat. Then the Bhagavad Gita starts, Asocyanannu Sochastum Prajnavadam Cha Bhashase. That's how Bhagavad Gita starts. But in the Bhaskara's Gita, there is one more verse before Asocyanannu Sochastum. Svam Manushena Upahatantaratma Vishadam Etabi Bhava Visamyaha. So you are having what is called this sort of human frailty, and then you are becoming unconscious. That is in the sense you are getting confusion. Kripa grihitaha, and you have got kripa. That is the unnecessary mercy towards your enemies like Bhishma, etc. Samavetya bandhun abhiprapannan mukamantakasya. That is, you think they are what is called about to die. You think like that, but the situation is now. Bhaskara says this one. Atma Vishaya Mithya Jnana. What is called this Atma Vishaya Mithya Jnana is there for Arjuna, and this Atma Vishaya Mithya Jnana is to be removed. And in order to remove the Atma Vishaya Mithya Jnana, Krishna gives him the knowledge. That is the purpose. That's how Krishna starts Upadesa. This is the purpose of Upadesa. But in Shankara's view, this is that is the Shoka Moha Panayana. Shoka Moha Panayana is the purpose for which Bhagavad Gita has started. But in the opinion of Bhaskara, it is not Shoka Moha Panayana. He is going to criticize the concept of Shoka Moha Panayana as the purpose of Bhagavad Gita at all. So, that he says, on commenting Nasato Vidyate Bhavaha, Bhaskara says, Atmani Avidyamanasya Sukha Dukkha Lakshanasya Dharmasya. So, the Sukha Dukkha Lakshana is not existing in Atma. Na kadachit vidyate bhavaha. Their existence is not there. That is, don't understand the sukha dukkha etc. as present in Atman. So bhavaha. Na asataha bhavaha. Because they are non-existing. Non-existing thing cannot exist in them. Na asataha sukha dukkha dehe bhavaha. Bhavanam utpattihi. Manasaha sukha dukkha lakshanam vikaraha. So manasaha vikaraha. That is, they are connected with mind. They can be there. Tannibandhana jayate, Sitoshnaadija bandhana. Achetanatvad antakaranasya, antakarana being achet, even though it is manada, samvedanam nopapadyate. So chetanatvad chetragnya samaveta siva. Chetragnya samaveta antakarana can have the sukha dukkha, and then because of that, one feels that. So you should understand this sukha dukkha etc. is due to connection of chetana samaveta. And Vaiseshika joins issue here. Normally, we take what is called the Advaita, Dvaita, Visishta, Dvaita, etc. alone. But in the Bhaskara Grantha, in many of the places, Vaiseshika also joins issue. Vaiseshika says, Na tadevam, it cannot be. Antakaranaha, Antakaranena, Jivatma Samved, Antakaranena Jivatma Samvedyate Nama, Kshetragya Dharmaha iti, because they are later presented as Ichadvesha, Ichadvesha Sukam Dukkam Sangatas Chetanadritihi. Yetat kshetram samasena. Yadyapi kshetragnya samavayitvam na tathapi tad swarupa vikaraha. Even though can be taken to be kshetragnya, they cannot be taken as swarupa vikara. That is as if kshetragnya, that is, it cannot be taken as if kshetragnya is undergoing all these changes. So, why? Ahamiti pratyabhignanat. Bhaskara is criticizing Vaiseshika's view. Vaiseshika view is all these things happen in mind, and then through mind it is imposed on Atman. And then Bhaskara says, if ahamiti pratyabhignanat, that is all these things they change. Vikara. If the vikara were to be there, because any change should be a vikara, and the vikara were to be there, that it causes destruction and change. So Atman will cease to be Nitya object. So it cannot be Vaiseshika view, cannot be accepted. And he also is Aparetu Mayavavidan Madinaha. There is Mayavadi, that is a word he uses for Shankara because he proposes the doctrine of Maya. Aparetu Mayavadinaha Anyatha Avatarya Varnayanti. They take the context for Nasuto Vidyate Bhavaha differently. They see it entirely. Sarvaha Vikaraha Karanam Yatirikena Anupalabdehe. There is Karana Karya Bhava. Karya is not available apart from that. Is when there is no mud, you will not have pot at all. Pot can be available over mud alone. So Karanam Yatirikena Anupalabdehe. Janma Pradvamsabhyam Pragurdam cha asat. This is Gaudapada Karika. Adavante cha ennasti Vartamane pi tattata. So they are not existing before. So Shankara says there are two buddhis called Sadbuddhi and Asad-buddhi. The Gata, etc. Always you get the view Gatasan, Patasan, etc. Gata, etc. being Namarupa alone, they cannot be permanent, they are Mithya. But the San Pratya, that is the real cause, and that will always be available, that should be Paramarthiki. So this is how, so Prapancha becomes Maya Matram. In this way, this context he extends it everywhere. And when the whole thing is Maya Matra, what you are for, what is called grieving for. This is how Shankara has presented. And incidentally here, Bhaskara says, Panchabihi Pramanaihi Vastu Swarupam Parichidyate. An object is known through 5 pramanas. The 5 pramanas are Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, Shabda, and Arthapati. Through these 5 pramanas, just like Mima, the Prabhakara Mimamsakas, Bhaskara also subscribed to 5 pramanas and he does not subscribe to Anupaladhi. So through this, an object is known, Nacha, that is, when you say that something Anupalabdhi, Gate Patabhavaha, that is in the part, cloth is not seen. In the same way, Sat, when you say Sat, Sat is not seen in Sasavishana, hair stana also. So can you take, when something is not available, Vyabhichara is there, on that ground, can you take something is Mithya? Sva Vishaya Vyabhicharaha na Buddhi Nam Doshaha. He says, he joins issue with Shankara. Sva Vishaya Vyabhicharaha. If something is not available, that is, if Gata mud is there and Gata is not there, that is not the mistake of the mud or pot, it is a mistake of our Buddhi. Vishayetu patadu nopapadyate. You cannot pass it on. You cannot, on that ground, you cannot make the pata as the mithya. Vyabhicharo mithya heturiti durupadeshaha. To define Vyabhichara as the cause of mithya is not a proper explanation. Karana doshaha bhadaka pratyova. So it should be Karana dosha or bhadaka pratya. That is the mistake of Karana or the problem in the fallacy in the Karana and the later sublating cognition. They must decide mithya. And he says, Anuvritti pratyaha samanyam, Yavritti pratyaha visheshamsaha. So samanya visheshamsa decides Bhedabheda pratya. And incidentally, one or two other informations I would like to draw here. Ascharyavat pasyati kaschidenam, Ascharyavat badati tadaiva chanyaha. There is one verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Somebody has quoted Atmava are drashtavya srotavyo mantavyaha, etc. as the basis of this verse. That is, Atma is in, I mean, it is not easily known by everybody and it is not attempted to by everybody. So he says, there is absolutely no relationship at all between this quotation and Ascharyavat. There are totally different things. That Kathopanishad quotation can be the basis of this. But this particular Upadesa cannot be taken. And the Atmavare Drashtavyaha has got Tavya Pratyaya. But this particular verse, Vartamana Apadesha, Ascharyavat Pashyati Kaschidenam. Pashyati is in the Lat. So the Tavya and the Lat cannot be related. We have to take Prakarana, Linga, Shruti, etc. to interpret verse. He quotes the Mimamsa rules and then he rejects the view. This is not by Shankara, this is by some other person. And the Veda Vinasinam Nityam, that verse also, Shankara says, Veda Vinasinam Nityam, there, Kam Ghatayati Hantikam. This Kam Ghatayati, who is going to kill whom? Who is going to be the killer? Sarvakarma Pradibandayeva Prakaranarthaha Abhipretaha. Shankara says, that is, the Sarvakarma Sannyasa is the intended here. So Kamghatayati Hantikam, who is going to the killer is Akshepa. It's not actually an interrogation. Answer is not elicited, but there is no killer, no killed. So when there is no killer or no killed, there is no action at all. So since there is no action, this must be entirely a different thing. Sarvakarma pratibandha. But Bhaskara says, that is when Sarvakarma sannyasa is related, Bhaskara refers to Shankara as Atra Klesha Bhiravaha Kechit. Those who are afraid of what is called taking some essential work, that is when karma is taken up, karma becomes tiresome. So those who are afraid of this getting tiresome karma, Swamatam Bhagavati Arogya, they superimpose their view on Lord Krishna and Varnayanti. Yudhyasva Bharata iti tam abhiprayaha. Krishna says, Yudhyasva Bharata, fight. But now, Sarva Karma Tyaga eva abhipreta syat. If Krishna has intended Sarva Karma Tyaga, I am Shlokaha na Bhaktavyaha. He need not have slated at all, because there is no need for saying Yudhyasva. So Yudhyasva Shankara says as Anuvada, not as Vidhi, but it should be Vidhi only. The same way in another verse also, he says, that is, in the Veda Vinasinam Nityam, that there also Anasino Prameyasya, that is the statement made by, that is the verse used by Shankara. He says Anasino Prameyasya cannot be, that is not the word used by Bhaskara. He has got a different reading. Anasino Prameyasya is the reading by Bhaskara. He says Vinasino Prameyasya, if he says already there is Nityasya and Vinasinaha, there will be Punarukti. There will be repetition. That sort of repetition cannot be Nahi. Shankara says Nahi atra yuddha kartavyata vidhiyate. That fight is not injunction given by Krishna to Arjuna. Yuddhe pravrittasi eva asau shoka hedu pratibaddaha. He has already come to fight. Senayor Vior Madhya Ratham Stapaya Mechuta. He said, just to take my chariot between these two armies. So now, when he stood before these two armies ready to fight, suddenly he was overpowered by Shoka and Moha. That Shoka and Moha made him not to fight. So now this Pratibandha, this what is called obstruction for fighting is the cause. That should be removed. So he has already come for Yuddha, and Yuddha is Anuvada Matram. Shoka no Moha Apanayana is the most important thing that should be there. This is how Shankara has stated. Bhaskara says, Na sadhu tatparyam bhavatam paramrishtam. You have not touched the real intention. Yuddhe prakramya shoka moha apanayasya idamatra prayojanam. That is the purpose here. Katham nama yuddhe pravarteta. How can he proceed? If that alone were to be there, how can he proceed in the fight? If it is what is called shoka moha apanayana, he could have what is called stood in Dwaraka, and then he might have made all these things. So in this way, Shankara's views are criticized. He criticizes this view in many ways. And this is how this proceeds. Bhaskara has taken up issues. He has given many of the quotations from the commentaries that were available before the times of Bhaskara. Bhaskara's Gita Bhashya is in a way useful for us to get the informations in the pre-Bhaskara commentary of Bhagavad Gita's. Thank you. Hello, Balu.
Thank you, sir. I am here.
Hello.
You say abruptly. You heard that. Hello. Hello. You're able to hear me?
Yes.
Shall I go on?
Yes, proceed.
Hello. Yeah, somebody is talking. It had been a wonderful talk. Where is Professor Srinivasan? He is not there on the screen. Hello? He is there. Yes. Yes, you are there. You are there. I am able to see you. You have just given the history of the Bhedabheda view, starting from the Vedavyasa's Brahma Sutra itself. You first divided the 6 systems and then explained them. and how Vedanta alone talks about Jiva and Ishvara relationship.
Hello.
And then you went into
Hello.
how they view Jiva as Sachidananda Swarupa. Hello? Hello?
Hello? Yes?
Hello? Is it clear?
Audible. Audible.
Yeah. Is it clear? Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, good.
Yes, ma'am.
Then you went to Advaita and Jiva, manifestation of Jiva from Brahman, and the results in the problem of this Jiva being not a Karta, and all those things have been discussed by you. Actually, Ramanuja's criticism of all these views, 7 fallacies, and then his establishment of Amsamshi Bhava and Saguna Brahman view. And then from there on, you went to Bhedabheda Vada or Dvaita theory. Nimbarka, Baladeva Vidyabhushan, Chaitanya, and Srikara, and even Srikanta have all been somewhat influenced by this Bhedabheda view, and they have established them also. And earlier Bhedabheda view before Shankara, starting from Brahma Sutra of Veda Vyasa, where he had quoted 3 people, Badrayana Vyasa, Asmaratya, Audubani, and Kasakrishna, right?
Ashmaratya.
And then hello?
Hello? Yes.
Okay, then Bhaskara, how he has derived from Maitreyi Brahmana, the discussion between Maitreyi and Yajnavalkya, the Atma Vare Drishtavyaha, that had been discussed. Then Janaka Yajnavalkya Vada also had been discussed. Interesting, very interesting. And then I had taken a lot of notes from you, but still I am not able to follow the theorem, actually, theory. And then extend how Samanya Vishesha Bhava and Karyakarana Bhava had been the base for Bhedabheda relationship. And this is extended to Parabrahman and Aprabrahman views, and how 8 manifestations of Parabrahman were discussed by Bhaskara, Bhartru Prapancha. Then in post-Sankara period, Bhaskara's views, based on his Brahma Sutra Bhashya and Bhagavad Gita Bhashya, you brought them out. His Bhashya and Bhagavad Gita Bhashya stops abruptly in, I think, 9th chapter, 33rd verse. But his latter portion have been cited by many people, and he has criticized Nyaya theory of moksha, Sankara's theory of Mityavada, and Mimamsa concepts also. And from his discussion on Sankara's views, you understand that he has written a Bhashya and Chandogya. After that, you had started discussing Bhaskara's views on Bhedabheda. Then Saguna Brahma is only Vishnu. That has been established by Bhaskara here. Then he had discussed Anubandha Chatushtaya from Mahabharata, and considering Mahabharata the highest Veda and Vyasa as a Vedic Rishi. And citing Bhagavad Gita verses from 2nd chapter, Nasato Vidyate Bhava, and other things. The Vaiseshika view being criticized and Mityavada being criticized also have been discussed. And at the end, towards the end, Anasino Aprameyasya, the phrase had been discussed by Shankara, which had been discussed by Shankara to support his theory, had been demolished by Bhaskara. He does not accept this view. And then Bhaskara's Gita Bhashya deals with the Bhedabheda in various ways and very minutely, giving out all the outlines of the philosophy and the nuances of the philosophy. It had been a sort of going through the history of Bhedabheda theory from way back Veda Vyasa to Bhaskara's time. A very, I will say we had a very good travel. You showed us the way in which the theory developed and how it had come to the final crux in the hands of Bhaskara. Thank you very much, sir, for a very fine exposition of the Bhedabheda theory. And I think all the scholars as well as the researchers would have benefited by this lecture. Thank you very much. And I also should thank Mr. Venkatraman, is still there on the screen, I think. Thank you, sir, for enabling this endowment to function, and all those people who made this endowment from the family of Sri Narasimchari. And I thank all the viewers who have joined us today. Thank you all. Good night. Yamuna? Yamuna?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you can close.
Yes.